So a while ago, I did a well-received and glowing review of this muzzleloader. That is tongue-in-cheek, by the way. Ever since then, I've been of the mind that I need to replace this muzzleloader because it's unreliable. Now, discussion for me of muzzleloaders really starts with limited entry elk. Here's the reality as far as limited entry elk. I have 7 points right now. I need a minimum of 3 more, bare minimum, to even be in the running. Now, under the current system, that is just for muzzleloader. Rifle, you're looking at like 15, 20 points just to draw a limited entry tag. I could probably draw an archery tag now, but quite frankly, I don't want to hunt. I don't want to use my one limited entry tag on archery season. One, you say? Yes, one. Because the brutal reality here is that minimum, I'll be 52 years old when I draw my limited entry elk tag. Bare minimum. Most likely older. After a 5-year waiting period, if I drew in 3 more years, bare minimum I'll be 57 after the 5-year waiting period before I can even put in for it again. And then you add in at least another 10 years on top of that, and I'll be 67 years old by the time I ever see another elk tag for limited entry. And by that point in time, I'm probably too old to hunt in the mountains like I do now. I'm certainly not packing out an elk by myself at 67. Not a big old bull. So, the limited entry tag I have that I'll eventually get, I only get 1 shot at it. Because I'm getting only 1 shot at limited entry elk, I want to make the most of it. The only way to make the most of it is if you hunt, preferably with a long gun, sometime on or during or around the rut. And that limits you to one very hard to get limited entry rifle hunt that occurs during the rut that DWR just halved the tags on. Or, so I'll never see that tag, or muzzleloader. So, as Muzzy goes, I've been using general season gear to hunt in areas that I would think to draw a tag in because general season gear overlaps limited entry muzzleloader elk. So you get an idea of what's actually what during that time frame in that location. It's the best way to scout, I think, which is what I've been trying to do every other year, and the biggest reason why I put in for general muzzleloader deer. But it all circles back to the reliability of this particular muzzleloader. I do not consider this reliable. I don't trust this thing because this hammer doesn't always cock. As I said in my review, I tried to, it wouldn't cock. I pushed as hard as I could and finally get it, right? But I pushed so hard on the hammer spur on this thing, I broke it off last deer hunt. I should not have to pull so hard on this thing that I break the hammer spur. And that was with this thing completely unfired, clean. Never fired. The rifle was clean. So, and that's not the first time that's happened, but that happened on the heat of the moment during my last deer hunt in 2011. And I've never forgotten that. And I'll never forgive CVA for that. That, to me, just left a rotten taste in my mouth for CVA. And I will... Anyway, bitching and personal grudges aside, for reasons I just explained, this needs to be replaced. Unreliable POS. So I'm trying to stay away from CVA. So I was looking at Pedersoli's. I think that's how you pronounce it, Italian. And in my head, I thought it would be cool to have a modern take on a more traditional muzzleloader. So there's a Pedersoli makes a 50 caliber Hawken Rocky Mountain Muzzy, something like that. And for, I think, what are obvious reasons, it would be kind of cool to go hunting with a
50 caliber Hawken.
But it's not very practical. The wooden stock on that, I've kind of gravitated more towards synthetic stocks in the last few years. Easier maintenance, inclement weather better, and you don't have to worry about expansion or contraction of the stock possibly messing with your zero. So beyond that, the Pedersoli I thought was too expensive. It was more money than I was willing to spend. So that led me to night, and I was looking at nights, and those were a little bit more expensive. They're all like $900 some odd. Now, for perspective, this is a Tikka T3X Superlight. This, I consider, personally, I consider a good mountain rifle. It's affordable. Well, it was more affordable. This one I paid $780 for, and this is a good rifle. This is what I took my elk with more recently. But I categorically have a problem with spending more on a smoke pole than I did on this rifle. So nights are right out. I'm just not spending $900 some odd on a smoke pole. So that led me to looking at Thompson Center and Traditions, and Thompson Center, just, I don't know. Something about them just put me off. I didn't like something, I can't explain it. But I heard they stopped making smoke poles after, I guess they got bought out by Smith & Wesson. I'm not sure what the deal is, but I'm a little leery about Thompson Center. So I was looking at Traditions, and if you go and look around muzzleloader forums, they don't really have a good reputation. But nonetheless, I looked really hard at Traditions, and there was one that really caught my eye. It has a 28-inch barrel, 1 to 24-inch twist, and in theory, I kind of like the striker fire design because then I don't have to mess around with this cock hammer spur again. But I really looked in that point where I downloaded the manual and looked in the manual, and immediately I saw some problems. First of all, maintenance on that Traditions. That looks like a pain in the butt. It really does. The second thing I noticed on the Traditions that I didn't like is that there doesn't appear to be a bushing on the firing pin. Now, as much as I bitch about this CVA, there is a bushing on this firing pin in here, and you can take the whole firing pin assembly out and clean it. And I know that you need to do that on occasion. I actually do that every time I clean this thing. It's a pain in the butt, but I like to be able to get in there and clean and lube the firing pin and the firing pin spring. You can't do that on the Traditions. And another thing I noticed, probably due to the twist rate and the ultralight barrel, is that it appears that they are sabot only, and it didn't look like you could do a magnum-sized powder charge on that either. Now, there's rumor that all the muzzleloader rules are going to change in the next coming year or two. It might be that I won't be able to use scopes anymore. They might not allow sabots. I don't know. Everything's kind of in flux. Everything around here is just upside down. Yeah, it's all foobar. So I wanted downwards compatibility. And I stable only, I'd be boxing myself into a hole. I like options. Another thing I didn't like about the Traditions, and this maybe comes from being a Gen Xer, is it has O-ringers. As a Gen Xer, I have an issue with O-rings. But beyond that, it looked like another point of failure in the breech plug that requires periodic maintenance. So you're going to have to stock up and buy extra O-rings, I'm sure. So that talked me right out of Traditions. So before we go on to the big reveal, I want to recap what my criteria are, or what my criteria for a new muzzleloader seems to be. Number one, I obviously have developed a preference for a synthetic stock, synthetic furniture. 2, price point, I'm looking for something around $500-600. I might begrudgingly go up to 7, but that's my limit. 3, easy to maintain. 4, I want to be able to fire a variety of projectiles. Changes in hunting regulations aside, I'm counting on future supply chain issues and shortages. I think things are going to get a lot more worse before they get better. So I want to be able to fire a variety of projectiles, whether it's these El Cheapo conicals, Thor bullets, these somewhat debatable power belts, or obviously my personal favorite, Barnes TMZ and T-Easy, which I have a few stocked up on. And number 5, last but not least, has to use a 209 primer. I have I think in the last 2 years, I've shot about 140 primers. That's approximately 70 primers a year. I have about 850 primers. So in theory, I have enough primers to last me 11 years. So, with these stocked up, and I bought this box a while ago, I don't even think you can buy them in lots of 1,000 anymore. With this, I would be very foolish to go with anything but a 209 ignition. All right. You ready for this? All right, here we go. Go ahead and laugh. Oh, wait.
You serious?
All right. This is a CVA Acura MRX, or what they're calling the Mountain Rifle Extreme. I believe this is a 26-inch barrel, 1-28 twist, and it cost me $639, not counting taxes and shipping. Unfortunately, it is the one inline muzzleloader that I could find that met all of my criteria that I mentioned just previously. On top of that, I already have a spare ramrod for my Optima that I can use for cleaning. Seeing as how this ramrod for this is collapsible. I already have a spare 209 breech plug that I bought for the Optima that I could use on this. And I already have spare parts for the firing pin assembly that I presume I could also use on this. Now, to be honest, the fit and finish, as compared to the Optima, I am impressed with. I say that begrudgingly so. I'll get into comparing these in another video, but what I said about this Optima, I stand by my words. You get what you pay for, and it is a budget gun. This proves it. But Middle Outdoorsman, I thought you didn't like CVA. You're right. I don't, and I haven't really changed my mind about CVA. I don't like CVA. I try to avoid CVA. Unfortunately, CVA seems to have a corner on the market. What it boils down to, for the price point and the criteria that I had in mind, the choices are either Traditions or CVA. There's nothing in between. Unless you feel like spending $900 to whatever on a night, or Pedersoli or whatever else is there. I think there's a Woodsman Arms or something. There's like a small mom and pop shop, I think, but even there they still want more money than I can spend. Now, a CVA, a little story here. Most people who've been following my videos for a while knows I was an engineer in the Air Force. And I'll drop pearls of wisdom every now and then. Here's another little bit of pearl of wisdom that applies to this. There's an E9 and there's a Chief Master Sergeant. The E9 you listen to because you have to. The Chief Master Sergeant you listen to because you want to. I apply that to CVA. You pick up a CVA because you have to, not because you want to. At least from my perspective, that's how I see it, because I am not a fan. Forgiveness is not one of my stronger suits.
Forgiveness is between them and God.
So the trouble I've had with this, I will always remember. I am going to save the box and all the packaging that came with this, and I'm going to fill out the warranty card on this. And if anything, and I mean anything, goes wrong with this thing, I'm going to be on the phone with CVA, and I will be that guy. And they are going to hear a mouthful from me. Anyway, I'll do an in-depth comparison between these two muzzleloaders later. In the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Maybe you learned something. Maybe got a good laugh. You have a good one, and we'll see you later.